daughters of sharecroppers, former slaves, and they went on to own land and grow their own food. And so they grew for the market, but they also grew for the family. And every summer, me and my brother and all my cousins had to pick the beans and shell them, get them ready for freezing, canning. We had to, pick the bugs off the watermelon plants. We had to, help just everything. We had to do all the garden work. And so then we'd have this big family reunion feast that was all fueled by food that was grown in the garden that they grew. And I loved it, but we also hated it because it's like we just wanted to play in the streets, but that was a big part of my summer experience as a child. And, over time, when I became a mother, it just became the natural thing to do, grow food for my children. I learned herbal medicine. I'm self-taught because I didn't want to rely on the Western medical system to care for my children. And so I learned herbal medicine so I could, use more natural methods to help my family heal. And it just led me to understand that the earth actually gives us everything we need. And this capitalist system is a lie. We can actually just be more in tune with the earth, and we can actually get more of what we need by being in that grounded, connected way. Yeah, so
I love that you talked about capitalism, because I often talk about these seemingly apolitical acts such as growing food at home, making meals for our friends and family. These things being highly political and, dare I say, radical in a food system that's controlled by a handful of multinational corporations. And so I'm wondering, outside of just kind of being this kind of pushing back against these systems that often marginalize and oppress our people. Can you talk about reasons that we might consider growing food, particularly in urban centers?
Absolutely. Well, first thing that comes to mind is, it's easily accessible by the people that live super close to these urban centers and within these urban centers. And so getting food to people that need it the most, especially folks nowadays that, are living in communities, unhoused communities. And so, it's a really perfect way to get fresh, healthy food to people that need it the most. And then we reduce our carbon footprint by not relying on the industrial agricultural system that is basically destroying our planet and the lives of thousands of people, mainly farm workers, who are at threat of being deported or not having access to health care. And so I often say, give them the land, get rid of these industrial farms, and bring all of the food production within the areas where the highest human density exists. And then, you can grow enough food for a 4 square block radius, right within the city, and feed everybody from that plot, and everyone helps. Everyone that can help helps, and if you can't help, then, of having access to local food and healthy food, fresh food. And then grocery stores then become roller skating rinks again or something. I don't know, but please, enough with all of this. Big ag is so out the door. It's just over, especially now with COVID being, the predominant, force right now is we need just everything right close to home. And why not have it be your own food?
Yeah. No, I love thinking about how, nurturing local and regional food systems. A lot of people in their mind, so there are these kind of imagined barriers that people have around growing food in cities, and then there are real barriers. I don't know if you want to talk a little bit about, the way in which people encounter these barriers and ways around them as you see them.
Yes. Well, there's lots of ways those barriers do show up. Absolutely. A lot of those barriers are imagined. Any amount of square open footage can be used to grow food. And if a municipality, a city government, or state legislature, gets behind that model or that, effort, we could do a whole lot more than what we're doing. So the barriers are mostly imagined, but the other way it is just like, I feel like people are taught historically, a lot of Black and brown folks are taught that growing your own food is a form of, reversion back to, slavery or, oppression type of, lifestyle, or farming lifestyle is for people that are poor and don't really have the means to do for themselves. And so they have to, revert to that sort of thing. But I'm saying that, no, it's a form of liberation. And so changing the narrative, first of all, about growing your own food or farming or just like having a small home garden, kitchen garden, changing that narrative first and foremost. And I believe that's happening for the most part. But otherwise, other barriers are, class gets in the way. Absolutely. There's the idea that land is only accessible to those who have the means to own it or live on it and what have you. That's also a conversation that's definitely changing. I could say more about that later, but most of the barriers, I think, are from the capitalist thought process.
Yeah. I mean, and I agree. I think one of the things that capitalism does, it convinces us that every problem that we address, we need to address it individually. And I talk about how we need to think about healing our communities, healing our families, healing ourselves through the collective, and how, because even when talking about eating healthfully, one of the things that comes up quickly is, this idea that, oh, it's too time intensive, it's too labor intensive, and it's too expensive to eat healthfully. And I think that is certainly, through the lens of, I have to do this just for myself or my nuclear family. But then I use the example of faith institutions. I've traveled the country and I see so many churches, synagogues, mosques that have these beautiful industrial kitchens that haven't been used in decades sometimes. And how if folks go to the market and bought food collectively and then came back to that kitchen and made meals in bulk collectively and then kind of divvied the meals among each other, you can have like a week's full of homemade, fresh, delicious, sustainable, organic, or whatever food. And I think that we can think about kind of producing food in urban centers in a similar way. And so I'm wondering if you could talk about models that you may have seen where collectively people have been coming together and thinking about feeding themselves, feeding their families, feeding the wider community.
Yes. I love that. I love that example so much. I mean, yes, and I've seen those kitchens too. It's been years, but I know what you're talking about. I'm like, oh, yay. Bryant's got eyes on those kitchens. And I'm just like, yes, put him in charge. That's what's up. Oh, yes, that's real talk. And it's so true, so true. And yes, and it's time to start to shift, away from this model of, oh, it's too much work, oh, we don't have the infrastructure, we don't have the capacity, etc. But yeah, we do. We're good. We got youth, we got all kinds of things going on, and there's been this big arc, sort of. It feels like, from, because, and I'll go back to capitalism first, and I'll just say, because of capitalism, we've all thought, oh, the proper way to live is the convenient way to live, and it's easier to get things from the stores and from the whole ordering online situation. That whole piece of man, that bubble has popped, has it not? I just can't say, or it's popping. It's currently popped, the hole in it, and I'm so happy about that. But yes, models, so many models like the one you just described, absolutely. I recently moved onto a piece of land in El Sobrante, and really excited. There's a collective that's currently in ownership, but we're in the process of creating the entire community that lives on that land. We'll all become collective partners of that land, where we'll all grow the food there. And the food will not only feed us, but also folks will be able to distribute to communities that need it the most. So that's just one simple model. There's a group of young Black activists called Black Earth Farms, definitely some of the people that y'all should know about. They're a group of young people that formed a collective. They're growing food in all this reclaimed land around Berkeley and Oakland, and they've created a CSA that's affordable for folks that need it. And they target folks and families of color, and they're going out in the streets and targeting their outreach to people that need it. And they're also giving away a lot of food to folks that are unhoused. So that's a group of young graduates from Cal, and they're just amazing.
What's
And
their
they're
name
also
again?
Black Earth Farms.
Black
Yeah,
Earth Farm. Okay.
keep an eye out, because
Yeah.
they're about to take over the world.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
I'm loving
amazing,
that.
amazing folks, amazing. And then yeah, so there's that. I mean, Spiral Gardens. What we do is we do what we can. Right now, during this time, we're closed during the week, and we're only open on the weekends. But during the week, while we're propagating and other things on the nursery side, we also are harvesting vegetables and whatever's growing and available here on the farm side, and distributing to our seniors next door at Oregon Park Senior Center. So that's one thing. But there's so many, 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 many models. I mean, I really encourage folks to a community garden. Tear down your fences between your backyards. You know, make it a big garden and share the food. With each other. It could be like 3 or 4 households. That have their yards. Backing each other up. And so many people have done that. I think that's a wonderful. There's all these crop swaps that are going on. I mean, we've been doing that for years, but it's a new thing in the gentrifying community. Like people are like growing certain things in their gardens, trading with other people's, produce from their
Yeah.
gardens. So there's many, many ideas, many, many ways to do this, but we
And
definitely have
as
to, yeah.
these are practices that our ancestors have had for a long time. And, I'm wondering if you have any thoughts on, because I think a lot of times we kind of think about creating these new models, but I always talk about this idea, the West African idea of Sankofa, where we're kind of looking back as we move forward. And so do you have any thoughts about kind of tapping into this agrarian knowledge of elders and communities? I know, there's the senior center near you. Do any of the seniors come to the garden and the educational site? And just what kind of community are you building with elders in the Bay Area?
So we have been living, Spiral Gardens has been next door to Oregon Park Senior Center for the entire 17 years we've been in this location. And we have been reaching out to them constantly, and we are absolutely in community and in neighborship with them. Absolutely. It's been difficult to get, more of them involved in, just participating in small practices here in the garden, but it's definitely been like our urging. And I will always want to say, come on, guys, come to the garden and come play with me. Come pick some flowers and get some herbs for your turkey for Thanksgiving, and just come sit here. And a few will come over, sometimes reluctantly, sometimes insisting on, like, I'll come over if you're not here. I just want to be alone here. Like, that's fine. I'll go. Anyway, but it's been a little bit like pulling teeth. But now, since this whole situation has occurred, this virus has set in, and all of a sudden we have new volunteers from the senior center. They just want to be at the garden. They just want to be with the plants, with the soil, with the earth, and they're just really deepening their connection. And it's not just been just now. I mean, there's been a trickling and a definitely steady flow of just a few regular folks have been coming through, but nothing like right now. Now everybody's just like, yes, this is my community garden. This is where I'm going to be. And we had one of our seniors helping harvest today for the whole senior center. So
nice.
It's
all right. Let's get down to
it's
some
all right.
nuts and bolts. So, are you in the nursery now?
I'm on the farm side, but I can go to the nursery.
Okay.
What
Can
should
you
I?
go
What?
to? I want people to actually see some of the stuff that you have, because if people are living locally, I know some people are tapping in from different parts of the country. But for those who are local and just for, you know, anyone, I'd love for them to see a sampling of some of the beautiful starts and trees and just the stuff that you're producing over at the nursery.
Okay. Well, I'm going to head over there right now. So you can talk while I walk. How about that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, so we actually had a question. Brother Marvin K. White checked in.
Hey.
I can't find his question, but I think it was something to the effect of what can people be producing kind of at this time of year? If you're thinking about starting your mid-spring, about to be summer garden, do you have any particular kind of low barrier, easy things that people can start with? And you know, we can think about, I mean, like, obviously there are a number of ways that people can grow food at home, whether they have, like, you know, actual soil in the ground that they can grow in, or raised beds, or, you know, a pot on their front porch where they're growing tomatoes with fresh herbs in the windowsill. So what are some things that you would suggest the novice farmer might start with to really help ease them in?
Yes, good question.
Farmer slash gardener. Yeah.
Yes. And so if you're growing in a small space and you're growing in containers, definitely recommends Culinary Herbs. Quick growing things like lettuce, parsley, cilantro. Let's see. Grow some of this. Beneficial Bug Blend. It's a flower blend and it attracts bees and other pollinators, and they're fast and easy. Most of those things I just described don't require a ton of sun. Absolutely not. So you get away with, you know, part sun during the day. Let's see. I always say if it's your first time growing, definitely try growing lettuce. I love growing lettuce in pots, containers. It's easy to grow in the ground, absolutely. But if you're starting out and you're just doing it for the first time, definitely try it in a pot, just for starters. It's very satisfying, it's fast, it's easy, and you'll just get a kick out of it. You know, when you grow your own lettuce, you're just like happy and you can eat it really soon, and then you're like, oh, I just grew this delicious salad and I ate it, and now I'm going to grow something else. So lettuce is a good starter, a starter plant for beginners. Yeah, and fast. But there's all kinds of other things. That's not the only thing. Should I say more?
Yeah, I'm looking. Someone writes, this time of year, I give new gardeners a spaghetti pot. It is a pot with basil, oregano, thyme, and an indeterminate cherry tomatoes.
Nice.
Zucchini are fast and easy, no work. On that. Hey, how you guys doing?
That's a great idea. I love that. You know what? Yeah. Bryant says hi, everybody. Yeah, I told everybody I was going to come and show them off. I love that idea so much. Once and as long as, did you say zucchini and tomato, or was I?
Well, no, I think they wrote that
I see it.
Zucchini are fast and easy to grow as well.
Yes, that's right. Yes, they are. Super easy.
I gift your cookbook for Christmas.
Oh, Sylvia says she gifted your cookbook for Christmas to somebody.
Oh, thank you. Appreciate that.
Thank you. I'm like, so I'm in the nursery now, so I got to talk to people. Yes,
hey, Don,
I love
really
that.
quickly, I thought about something earlier, and I just wanted to kind of throw it out before I forget about it. But you often, when we talk about, particularly in the context of like industrial agriculture, but just in general, I feel like there's this distinction that people often make with, you know, when people describe often the mostly Latino laborers in our agricultural centers system, they would often refer to them as like farm workers, but then they often refer to, you know, white men or, you know, I don't know, people who have like the means to own it as like farmers. And they probably, maybe, you know, the person who owns the farm isn't even been doing as much work as the labor. So I'm wondering if you have any thoughts on the way in which people often kind of
That's
make
right.
that distinction between farmers and farm laborers or farm workers.
I appreciate that. Yeah, thank you for that. And I've been guilty of the same, absolutely, because of the language that we've been raised on.
Mm-hmm.
But you're absolutely right. No, the actual farmers are the people doing the work. The other people are landowners or landlords or even overseers, modern day overseers, as far
Mm-hmm.
as I'm concerned, because they're making the profits off of the people doing the labor to grow the food that feeds us. And so,
Yeah.
yes, I absolutely agree with that. And yeah, we definitely need to shift that narrative, and also shift the power dynamic.
Mm-hmm.
To be perfectly honest, I can't anymore with this food system the way it's set up. It just does not make sense to me, and I'm just super happy right now. There's so much tragedy and sadness because of this coronavirus, but there's also an amazing resurgence of healing and balancing out the, like, what is it called? It's called well, it's the great equalizer. That's what I like to call it right now. It's like,
Mm-hmm.
so the power is definitely shifting at this point. But
Yeah.
yeah, thanks for that. It's,
Does
whew.
anybody in do any of the viewers have any questions for Don? Please send them over. I'll be happy to let Don know. Don, so that was kale we were just looking at.
Yeah.
Um,
It's
Kale's one of
pretty.
those hardy things. Can kale pretty much grow year round, or is there like a best time that you want to plant your kale, or what are your thoughts around like hardy kind of nutrient dense leafy greens and having those as a
Mm.
part of our gardens?
Yes, absolutely. And because in the Bay Area, our climate is so mild that we can grow kale year round. Kale, collard greens, chard, not so much spinach. Spinach is a really quick type of thing, but it does grow best in the cooler parts of the year, like fall and spring. So that's when you want to definitely be thinking about spinach. But all the rest of those leafy greens are amazing. You can grow cabbage, you can grow cauliflower year round, beets you can grow year round, have all of these different varieties. It's like amazing, our Bay Area climate.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
So let me
But it's
ask you
definitely
this.
those warm months. Yeah.
Obviously, I would love if everyone could make their way over to the Spiral Gardens Community Food Security Project and buy their starts there. But, I know there have been times where I might have fresh herbs that I purchase from the market, and then I have them in my, cup or whatever vase that I put them in so that they last, and then they start to sprout roots. Can you talk a little bit about ways that we might be able to take food and kind of sprout them at home and grow them so that we don't feel the need to go out and buy seeds and buy starts,
Hmm.
but actually kind of working with things that we might get from a supermarket or just leftover produce we might have or anything like that?
Yeah. So many, so many ways. Um, just like you said, if your herbs sprout roots, then go ahead and put them in some soil. You can take a little pot, put it in your windowsill, add some soil in your plants, just get your roots down under the soil. Make sure they're not sticking up above the soil level, and you can continue growing your herbs. Mint is a very good herb that way. If you buy some spearmint from the market, definitely put some of it in a glass of water and it will sprout roots, and then you can go ahead and start your own mint crop. Um, Also, another one is stinging nettle. It's a really easy plant, and they sell it for $10 a bunch at the farmer's market, even though it grows like a weed in the ground, and you can get it anywhere. Really, you can. Go hiking in Tilden Park or wherever you are. I bet you find some stinging nettle, but put a bunch of that in some water. It'll root, absolutely, and then you'll have nettle for the whole entire year. And then let's see, yes, you can see potatoes sprouting all the time. If you leave your potatoes in the cupboard long enough, all of a sudden they've got these big roots and shoots and leaves suddenly coming out of them. Well, go ahead and cut that sprout off the potato, put it in a pot. In about 6 months, you'll have a whole pot of potatoes. What else? Onions. Somebody put garlic. Yep,
Yeah,
garlic,
someone
old
just
garlic.
asked, can we use old garlic that is starting
Hmm.
to sprout?
Yes. put it in some soil, and it will grow you a whole entire bulb of garlic.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And then there's a whole process, and onions as well, sprouting onions. If they're sprouting, your produce is starting to put up new growth, and turnips are another wonderful plant, a root vegetable that's easy to resprout, and the greens are delicious and wonderful. There's so many. I could go on and on and on about this,
Mm-hmm.
but there's lots of, yes, you can. If
Yeah.
carrots, cut the carrot top off, put the cut top, it, um, cut side down into a little dish of water. It'll start to grow greens off the top, and then you can plant that, and it'll become a carrot again. So
Mm-hmm.
many things. You could do that with turnips, beets, radishes, so many different vegetables.
Mm. When you mentioned stinging nettles earlier, it made me think about, medicinal plants and herbs. And
Yeah.
particularly, this moment, it's interesting because all this is happening in the spring. And typically, I like to do a little fast during the spring, but because we're sheltering in place and everything's out there, I decided not to do it. But I'm wondering if you have any thoughts on some plants or herbs that we might want to be consuming to help us just, I don't know, whatever. I think there are innumerable things that people need right now, but let me just talk about what I need. I need to be grounded.
Yes.
I need to feel, I don't know, just like safe and grounded. I think that's the biggest thing for me,
Yes.
but also thinking about respiratory health,
Yes.
prevention, just really ensuring that my family's immunity is strong when we're in this moment
That's
where
right.
there are a lot of things that one can catch. So do you have any, I don't know, top 3 herbs or medicinal, vegetables that have medicinal properties that people might want to be consuming at this moment?
Absolutely. Yes. And I'm so glad you asked, because yes, we all need to feel that grounding centered experience, have that grounded centered experience, because it's when we're anxious and freaking out, panicking, that's going to definitely compromise our immune system. So feeling calm in your center is definitely a super helpful way to be anytime, but especially now. Um, yeah, so I would say if you can get your hands on some holy basil, either in dried tea form, or if you have it fresh, if you can get it fresh, to get it fresh. If you can get your hands on some tincture of holy basil, yes, clary sage, yes, oregano, yes, rosemary, absolutely. All of
Mm-hmm.
those are excellent for the clary sage for anxiety, oregano and rosemary for the immune system, for the respiratory system. Yes, holy basil. And holy basil for me, it's one of my very favorite medicinal plants, because it is such a strong anti-anxiety herb. It's an adaptogen, so it helps the body adapt to stress, whether it comes from within or without. So we're all experiencing, especially traumatic stress. So we're all experiencing a collective trauma right now, and it's causing a lot of anxiety and fear and panic in our whole world. And
Mm-hmm.
that's a big deal. So yes, we do need some really direct medicine, and holy basil is one of those plants that can really help us bring back to center. I
Mm-hmm.
use it with skullcap and ashwagandha. All three of them together are adaptogens individually, but together they're like the holy trinity for me. And
Mm-hmm.
and I carry a lot of anxiety in my chest. I carry a lot of stress in my shoulders and the back of my shoulders, and I carry a lot of it in my stomach. And so whenever I take those three plants together, definitely recommend tincture for those with high levels of anxiety. But if you're like on the middle spectrum, the tea is fine. And you can get tea blends of holy basil, skullcap, and ashwagandha together, or just get them individually and blend them yourself. But do use those plants if you can get your hands on those. They really help to just bring you back into your belly.
Mm-hmm.
But yes, so we're growing those here. We definitely have been making a lot of tincture. Oh, and I want to mention Japanese honeysuckle.
Mm-hmm.
Our friend Zakia Harris, I know we know in common, and and her partner, Sarah Kernan from Miss Ollie's, were just in the garden yesterday, and I did a private birthday herbal medicine making class with them for Sarah's birthday.
Oh,
And
awesome.
yeah, it was awesome. And Zakia was the one that hit me to the Japanese honeysuckle, which we also grow at Spiral Gardens. I did not know that it was a traditional Chinese preparation for all of the symptoms that present with COVID-19.
Mm.
So we harvested a bunch and we tinctured it in some really good vodka, and we're gonna have that available. So that was kind of an amazing new. I did not know about that plant for as being a strong antiviral. So I'm really, really grateful that I learned that from Zakia, and that we have that plant here available.
Mm.
So yeah, Japanese honeysuckle. It grows everywhere. I'm so excited to learn more about it. And also,
Mm-hmm.
lastly, I would say lemon balm is an amazing antiviral plant and also calming to the nervous system.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Do you think taking that as a tea is effective, or would you say tinctures would be a better way to take the lemon balm?
So for lemon balm for children, I would definitely recommend tea because as a tincture, it's got a really strong sedative effect. So definitely tinctures for those of us who really need to bring it down. Or if you're already experiencing viral symptoms, the tincture, absolutely. With children, though, the tea is best.
Okay. So this is in regards to our raised beds, and I'm sure it's something that other people have had to confront at different times. But we've been seeing a lot of slugs in the beds, and we planted some starts, and they're kind of like nipping at the smaller start. Do you have any suggestions for helping to deal with slugs and insects that might invade our raised beds?
Yeah. I mean, the old school way is just go out there with a can of beer for yourself and a bowl of beer for the slugs and snails, and just go out in the evening just before the sun goes down and start picking them off the plants and dropping them in the beer. Get them drunk. That'll
Okay.
kill them. That's one way to do it. But there's also a product called Sluggo, Sluggo, and it's a non-toxic, naturally occurring mineral from the soil, made into little pellets that you can sprinkle around your plants and on your plants, and the snails will eat that instead of your plants, and then they won't be able to eat anything else. But
Mm-hmm.
apart from that, people put salt down, they crushed eggshells or oyster shells and around their, plants and things like that. And yeah, sure, you can totally do that. I always say, if you really, if you're really just home and you're just gardening, you got time, just go ahead and pick the little critters off your plants.
Mm-hmm.
As far as aphids and things like that, you might want to invest in some neem oil,
Mm.
and then make a mixture of that for spraying your brassicas, which tend to get aphids usually around mid to late summer when they
Mm-hmm.
start to get a little bit older. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Any other questions from the people before we wrap up? You're getting a lot of hearts.
I know. It's so sweet. I'm like, aw, thank you. I love y'all too. This is so fun. I'm really happy we got to do this.
Huh. Oh, Jamil from Raised Roots. When I had mentioned the critter,
Hey.
he said, "Grow something else."
Oh, wait. You said grow something else? Yeah,
Yeah.
okay. If something's eating what, grow something that they won't eat. Is that it?
Yeah. Oh, someone writes, aphids tore apart my St. John's wort.
Ooh, where do you live?
W.
Where?
Wines. W. Himes. Where do you live?
Wines. Yeah, we can't really grow it very well here in the Bay Area, so that's why I'm asking.
Oh, Maya writes, you write weed. Are you looking for tips on growing cannabis, or are you just trying to get Smoked up? What's going on?
What?
When you write weed, can you give us some context?
I'm like, how are you seeing these? I can't see.
Yeah.
Well,
Oh,
I mean, oh,
Wines lives in Berkeley.
oh, yeah. So, yeah, I don't, just from what I've learned about St. John's wort, it wants to be on the East Coast mostly or the Midwest. And so, things that typically aren't for this climate are going to definitely be more susceptible to getting attacked by local pests. Um, Sorry. Hey, Marvin, yes, come through tomorrow, and we only let 5 to 7 people in at a time. But you got to have a mask.
Can you tell people where Spiral Gardens is located and what your time for being open tomorrow? Is it just tomorrow or Sunday as well?
Saturday and Sunday, 10 to 5. And there's typically a line down the street. We're prioritizing elders first. So if you do come get in line and you see somebody who is visibly an elder, push them to the front of the line so we can get them in and out and back home. Yes. And so we're at 2850 Sacramento Street in South Berkeley at the corner of Oregon. And we're 2 blocks north of Ashby. So we'll be out there. We'll be all masked up and gloved up and policing the gate like bouncers. So don't be mad at us. We tell you, get out of here. We already got 7 people. Wait till we say you can come in. Just know it's because we love you and everybody else too. We want everybody to stay safe. Yeah, we're out here. We're volunteering today. There's a whole bunch of volunteers here, and they're all spread out like way far apart, and they're all helping us get ready for opening up again tomorrow. And this is the case right now. We're only open on weekends for now until it's clear that we're done with this whole upheaval, and then we'll resume regular hours. But we just don't know when that'll be. We'll keep you posted, though.
Don, someone writes, is there a resource you know of that lists community gardens in the Bay Area that sell produce and seedlings? And for that matter, for people who are jumping in from different parts of the country, are there any national, resources or websites that people can go to find? I remember back in the day, there was a website that you could go to and put your zip code in, and it would tell you where the local farms and CSAs and all those are. I forget the name of it, but I don't know off the top of your head if you have a quick resource that people can look at.
Yeah, honestly, as far as nationwide, I really don't know. But I can definitely say if you're on the East Coast, I would definitely tap into Soul Fire Farm.
Yes.
And they're in upstate New York. And Leah is an encyclopedia of all things in that part of the woods and also other places as well. But she's been a resource for a number of people from all over the country. So I bet you she can definitely help with that. As far as Bay Area resources and close by, the Ecology Center has a wonderful website, and they have an incredible listing of all kinds of community gardens, farms, farmers markets, farmers, people growing locally and also really close by that you can source fresh produce. Spiral Gardens is an excellent source of produce. If you want to volunteer at Spiral Gardens, either in the nursery or the farm, you're entitled to harvest from wherever that we're growing here. And we're trying to grow as much food as possible, and it's all to give away. And so volunteers are prioritized, seniors are prioritized, and people that need it, people that are homeless, need food, they can come get it here for free.
You know what? This may be it.
Okay.
Oh, guess it. You know what?
Oh, you found it?
Well, I remember back in the day, I thought it was localharvest.org, but it doesn't look like that is active anymore. Anyway.
I remember that.
Yeah, okay. So I'm not making that up. Anyway, Don, thank you so much for... Oh, someone asked, what's the address
Okay.
for Spiral Gardens.
Once again, 2850 Sacramento Street in South Berkeley, California, 94702. And we're at the corner of Sacramento and Oregon, and we're 2 blocks north of Ashby.
And you know what? I was right. So for those who are looking for a national resource about finding, farmers markets, CSA programs, local community gardens, and like, localharvest.org. That's localharvest.org. And then you can type in your zip code and they can tell you whatever you need to know. So, Don, thank you for being the first guest on Cooking with MoAD. I had to correct myself, not cooking. And thank you all for chiming in. We'll be coming back next week. We might be doing some cooking. We might be having a conversation. Yes. We'll see. And thank you for the work that you do, Don. You're truly helping to heal us, heal the earth, and